Knit. My name is Anna and I come to you from a very gloomy day here in Wisconsin, which is kind of nice because I do have a lot of things that I need to do inside the house, including recording another knitting podcast for you all. So that's what I have planned for today. I have 2 finished objects, all new whips, new acquisitions, and at the very end, I'm going to announce not 1, but 2 winners for the Best Friends Make-Along. So if you participated in that, stay tuned to the end. You could be one of the lucky winners. Let's just jump into my finished objects for this video. One that you may have seen if you're following me on Instagram, and that is the Flower Power Pullover by Degen. I've talked a lot about this knit, so if you want to hear more details about it, go visit my previous videos. I think the last 2 for sure I talked about it, but this is an awesome intarsia / stranded colorwork sweater that has this really cool floral motif on the front, the side of the sleeve, as well as the back too, which I really like. And it has this mock neck style collar for it. However, it also gives directions if you want a folded under collar as well. This is worked in pieces. Well, not quite. So you knit the front and the back, bottom up, and then you cast on for the sleeves from the edge, and then you knit the sleeves onto the sweater, and then you sew it all up together. And I don't think there's really any other easy way you can do intarsia. Like intarsia, there are ways to do it in the round, but it's a lot more complicated than just knitting it flat. The only thing I didn't love, which most people would probably agree with, is that you have to do purling every other round, but you also have to do color work while you're purling. But once you get into the groove, it's not so bad. And I really think the results are worth it because what a cool sweater this is. And I was really happy because I wanted to finish one last winter sweater before I just dove deep into summer knits. And I was still able to wear this a few times actually. So the first time I wore it, I went to a beer cave festival and it was perfect. It was a day like today where it was kind of like raining on and off, but when it rained, we would go in the cave. It was like indoor outdoor kind of, and it was just very good at temperature regulating. My friends I went with, they all wore jackets and I was like, should I be wearing a jacket? But I ended up being totally fine in this. I had a layering piece underneath too, but yeah. So I wore it then, and then I got to wear it to work as well. We're finally getting warmer temperatures, so I don't think I'm going to be able to wear it for the summer, but maybe at night if we're having like a little campfire or I'm just having a drink and knitting on the front porch or something. But yeah, I absolutely love this. I knit it with Biches Le Petite Lambswool, and I held it double while working throughout. And yeah, there's not a lot more to say. I do really like the color choice that I made for it because I feel like it's colors that I can wear in both spring and summer. It really helps that it's a floral motif to give it a spring vibe, but the reddish brown color really gives it kind of a fall vibe. So it's a universal or like universal seasonal sweater. But yeah, I absolutely love this one. It fits perfectly. So I knit a size 5. That's kind of what I've been choosing for all of my sweaters. It seems to be what I like the most. I tend to wear my clothes a bit more oversized, so this kind of gives it the perfect oversized feel, knitting a size 5. But yeah, it's just the right amount of boxiness. The length is really nice too. And one thing that I do want to mention is, you may or may not have noticed, but whenever I style my sweaters, I always feel the urge to French tuck it into my pants. I don't know what it is. I think it's because that's how we styled everything when I worked at H&M as a visual merchandiser. But also I feel like when I'm wearing something, I just want to show the button fly or just the tops of my pants, because it just feels frumpy if I just let everything hang over. But with this sweater, I think it helps that the motif goes all the way to the bottom, and it's just kind of that perfect boxy fit that I can actually wear it. It looks better not tucked in the front. I wear it over my pants, and that's like a big deal because I've been tucking stuff into my pants for the last, I don't know, 8 years probably, maybe even longer. So for the fact that I don't have to do it with this kind of says something. But yeah, I absolutely love this one. My next finished object is one that I've also talked about for a really long time because I bought the yarn back on Black Friday, and I had the intention of knitting it and having it finished in January to have a nice little layering underneath piece, but you know, life happens and I knit slower than I think I do. But yeah, so that is the June top that I made, and I am very pleased with how it turned out. So this is the front of it, and then the back, it dips down just a little bit lower than the front. And it's also worked bottom up. This is a really fun piece if you just need some like TV knitting or something to just kind of shut your brain. You start out by knitting it just stockinette in the round for the first portion, and then when things get interesting, it's just this last little bit up here. So it's a super easy garment to knit. I would say it's very beginner friendly too. Yeah, and then it finishes off with an I-cord edging around everything. Someone actually asked on Instagram, I almost said Pinterest, how you're able to keep the stockinette from rolling, and that is because of the I-cord at the bottom here. Before I attached the I-cord, it rolled like almost halfway up the garment. But yeah, I will say I did have to pin the edges down when I was blocking it too, just to ensure it didn't roll. It does roll like a tiny bit up, but not nearly as much as before it had the I-cord edge on it. So I really like this one. So I actually made this same tank top last summer, and when I was doing my yearly knits and review type video, there was two things that I didn't like about the first one I made, and that was all on me. So I ended up cropping it more than what the pattern called for, I think by a whole inch, and it ended up just being a little too cropped for what I like. This one I do like to French tuck in the front, and the first one that I made, I wasn't able to do that because it was just a little too cropped. And then the first one, I also didn't really leave enough of an armhole space for it. So the armholes like cut really deep under my arm here, like so much so that, I don't know, I thought it was kind of noticeable and it just was a little uncomfortable. So I made sure that I knit a long enough armhole piece here, and that seemed to do the trick. I've worn this one twice. I absolutely love it. I layered it underneath. I think it was just like a button up or something. But yeah. And I mentioned that I was going to make this for a January knit, and that's because I used Cashmere Merino Bloom from Purl Soho. And I know when it gets super hot here, I'm not going to really want to reach for this tank top, but right now we're in the low to high 60s, and I feel like this is a perfect piece to wear with something light on top. The color of the yarn is called Hydrangea, and I feel like it's just the perfect description for this color. I absolutely love it. It's kind of interesting because it is a pastel color, but I feel like it really just pops and stands out, especially with my complexion too and my blonde hair. I did a color analysis type thing, and I'm a soft summer, soft autumn, and this really falls into that category. And yeah, so I feel like it looks really nice. Yeah, really like this one. I recommend it again if you just want like a basic knit garment for summer. Another thing too is it's pretty easy to hide bra straps depending on how thick they are, because it lands right on your shoulders, like right around where a bra strap would land too. So it's not like racer back or anything where they would kind of stick out. So that's another thing that I really liked about this one. But yeah, super cool. Since I casted off 2 projects, I awarded myself with casting on a brand new project. And that is a pair of socks that I'm making from Lina's 52 Weeks of Socks, Volume 2. I did bring the book out so I can show you what it's supposed to look like, because the name of it is in here too. And okay, so this is the Berries and Bird Tracks by Yuka Takahashi. And it is definitely the first one I wanted to make. I want to show you this without giving away any pattern information. So hopefully you can see what it's supposed to look like here. This one stood out to me immediately because I've been making socks for a while now, but I haven't done any cable knit socks, and this one just was really delicate and nice and almost gave a lacy effect even though it's cable knit. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but I thought they were just beautiful. And I picked up this Life in the Long Grass yarn from my local yarn shop, and I thought they would just be the perfect color to work on these with. So I'll get up and show you these up a little closer so you can see. The construction of this is really fun. Obviously it's a toe up, which I personally prefer because I can just keep knitting until I run out of yarn. But the skein that I have here is 100 grams, and I rarely use all 100 grams of yarn in a pair of socks. I usually have quite a bit left over, so I don't totally have to worry about it with this pair. And I am knitting them 2 at a time, which is my preferred method because that way I never get second sock syndrome. And it's kind of weird, but it feels like they almost knit up just as fast doing 2 at a time as just one does. Like obviously it's a little bit slower, but not that much slower. And it's nice too because you keep doing these rows and you just do one row of the chart and then you just do the exact same thing for the second one instead of having to like kind of relearn everything on your second sock. But yeah, I'm really enjoying these. The only thing that I am kind of annoyed with is there are actually 2 errors in the chart in the book where they just left it blank in like the square where it was supposed to have a certain symbol. And I don't think that's the designer's fault at all. I actually think it may have been Lina's because they reuse all of the same symbols throughout the book, so it's all kind of consistent. So I think whoever the publisher was or whoever transcribed this chart missed a couple pieces. So I do actually have a mistake in the beginning of the sock. It's really not noticeable. It's not that big of a deal. But I don't know, I just kind of thought if they're putting out this book, they would kind of proofread everything to a T and make sure there wasn't any mistakes. But 2 mistakes in this book, so I kind of wonder if there's more in other patterns in here as well. But I guess we'll see. But again, it's kind of easy to point out and know how to fix it once you get used to the pattern. So not like a huge deal, I guess. But yes, like I said, this is Life in the Long Grass. The label is in the living room, so I'll go grab that quick so I can let you know what the colorway is. I absolutely love it though. It's the most subtle tonal green, and there's also like the most subtle specks of orange in it. Like you really kind of need an eagle eye to pick it out, but it just kind of warms up this green a bit more, and I feel like it's just a perfect summer color. Not necessarily that I'm going to be wearing these a ton in the summer, maybe with sandals. I'm a huge proponent of socks with sandals, especially if I'm like camping or something. But yeah, it's fun to knit summer colors while we're in spring and summer. So like I said, it's Life in the Long Grass. It's their superwash merino, yak, and nylon blend. And the colorway is ambergris. Is that how you pronounce that? I wonder if that's one of those words where you think you're pronouncing it your whole life and then you realize that you're not. Yeah, so that's whip number 1. Whip number 2 is this. Isn't it beautiful? Can you tell what it is? I didn't get very far with it yet. So this is the Marseille sweater that I'm knitting for my aunt. And I'm doing the exact colors that Petite Knit made in her sample. So you have just like this off-white color and then the really dark blue. I don't think it tells me the color, but it's like almost black. That's how dark blue it is. And I feel like this is just going to be such a good classic piece that she'll be able to wear for the rest of her life. I've made this one before a few years ago. If you've been following along, you may remember. It is with, I also used the Sadnes Garn double Sunday in like a forest green and a really bright orangey red. So it's kind of fun to be able to make it in more of a nautical classical color too. I almost kind of want to make a second one for myself too, but maybe I would change up the colorway a little bit. The nice thing about making this one is my aunt is very petite, so I am making the extra small. I don't often get to make things in extra small because I am more of like a large or extra large. So it's kind of fun to make something that doesn't require quite as much time. I did that with a sweater that I made for my niece for Christmas this last year, and it just flew by. It was lovely. So yeah, this has been nice to knit. I'm not in like a super hurry to make this because I imagine she probably won't wear it until fall. I don't know, but I'm still gonna stay motivated because I do actually want to get this done probably by midsummer, because I know once like August rolls around, I'm gonna start getting the bug to make some fall sweaters for myself again, and I'm gonna want this to be done before I delve into all of that. But yeah, not much to say so far since this is just a little bit of the back piece that I'm making. I'm getting close to doing the first stripe, which is always very exciting. But yeah, this is what I've been working on for a couple days now. The only other whip I really have per se is a spinning whip. So again, I'm just working away on the last 2 skeins to spin up for the night shift shawl that I'm gonna make. And I have 2 bobbins of singles spun up right here. These are part of Hello Yarn's monthly fiber subscription. But yeah, so I just have to spin up 1 more bobbin and then I'll apply all 3 together, and then I'll just have 1 more skein to go after that. It kind of doesn't feel real that I've made it this far because I feel like I've been working on this project for at least 6 months now, but it's been super fun because each skein is a completely different colorway, obviously, and it really just keeps my interest going. And I've got to say, the colorways of Hello Yarn are just so beautiful, and they all kind of flow with each other too, which is really nice. So if you're part of the subscription, it's easy to use different skeins in one project depending on what you're doing, and I really like it for that. I did cancel my subscription because I want to kind of explore other fibers. I want to like buy more from local fiber festivals and work with like local fiber. I think that would be really fun for more neutral colored pieces, and I have some things planned in the future. And I don't really spin as much as I wish I could, so it would really just kind of stack up if I kept up with the subscription, but it's definitely something that I would do again in the future. That kind of segues into my acquisitions that I have, because I did receive my final bag of fiber from Hello Yarn. So I'll go ahead and show you that. So here it is. Obviously it's beautiful. And this is probably one of the softest ones I have ever felt. It truly feels like a cloud. It's just, I mean, like I could just snuggle this. It's so nice. Let me get the info on it. So this colorway is called Trinkets. It's from the April month, and it's organic Pulworth wool top, which explains why it's so soft. Obviously, I'm not going to be using this one in the shawl because it kind of is an outlier from what I have already, and I only need 6 colors, and I have all 6 already picked out that I'm going to be using. But I think this one will make like a really fun accessory, or even maybe I could try doing a sock spin or something. I haven't spun for socks yet, and I think these would make a beautiful pair of socks, and then I just wear like, or I knit like the heel toe and maybe cuff with something mixed with nylon or something, so there's not as much wear and tear. But yeah, maybe that's something I'll try with this one. I think it's really pretty, and it would make some really fun socks. We'll see. I probably changed my mind. I always seem to do that. Okay, I haven't really bought yarn in a couple months besides the yarn for my aunt's sweater, but I don't think that really counts because she did pay for that yarn. And now with the new season coming up and spring and summer is in the air, I knew it was time to buy some more yarn, and it has arrived. I'm almost a little overwhelmed, but not really. So the first one is this Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. I think most people know what this is. This is the colorway Cardamom. And I almost wonder if this is the colorway that Emily from High Fiber Knits just made her look at my holes tee in. It looks very similar. I notice whenever I go to buy yarn, I always feel like I need to pick out a color that calls to me. And I know this is a color, but like an obvious color like blue, green, red, or whatever, you know what I mean. And I never ever go for just neutral colors. And I do wear a lot of neutral colors. I think they are a staple and important for the wardrobe. And I've been knitting a lot of colorful pieces lately, so I wanted to challenge myself to go for a neutral color, and that's why I went with this one. I already know what I plan to knit with this. I'm gonna make the Yoko top from Knitting for Olive. I never really think to look at Knitting for Olive for pattern ideas, but they have a lot of good ones on their website, and this one's really cool. It's a wrap style top. It's not something I've ever made before, and it appears that the construction is knit sideways. So I'm really excited to just make something with a very interesting construction, especially with the June top I just made was very simple. So I always like to challenge myself a little bit in trying something new. And I thought this would be a really pretty color to make that wrap top in. And then I bought the exact same yarn in a different color. So again, knitting for Olive, pure silk, and this is the color Deep Petroleum Blue. So the last mood board that I made for like late spring had a cardigan in this color, and I just fell absolutely in love with that cardigan. And I really wanted to make it, but I didn't think it would be very realistic that I would be wearing it often in the summer. So I wanted to make a tank top with it. And I've really been in the mood to knit lace recently. I don't know why. I just really like the look of how delicate it is. And I haven't really knit much lace since, I guess the ranunculus has a little bit of lace in it. I made one last fall. And then I made a magnolia bloom sweater a couple years ago. So I was in the mood to do some lace again. And that's what I'm gonna do. So Emily, again from High Fiber Knits, she did a whole roundup of, I think it was like underrated tank top patterns or something. And she showed one from Sari Nordland, which I immediately was like, yep, that's the one. And Sari's known for her lace. Like I feel like most patterns she makes has some form of lace in it. And I haven't actually knit anything from Sari Nordland, any garments. I did make 2 pairs of socks a few years ago. So I just thought I wanted to expand my horizons and try a new designer for a garment piece. The tank top I'm going to make is the Florence tank. I really like that this one has buttons on it, so it kind of gives that cardigan feel that I really liked. And it almost has like not quite a leafy pattern. I wouldn't even know how to describe that lace. They almost look like braids, but it's lace. It looks pretty cool. And I liked that the top is somewhat thick, so I might be able to hide a bra strap underneath that as well. And the fact that it's V-neck is a nice little touch to it too. So I thought this would look really pretty in this, this Deep Petroleum Blue. I'm not quite sure what buttons I'll do yet. I actually kind of like the ones that she has, so maybe like a really dark tortoise style button. We'll see. So that's the next one I'm going to make. I think I'm going to make these in order of which I'm presenting them. So I'm going to do this wrap top first, and then the Florence take second. That's not the only summer yarn I bought. I thought I was done buying summer yarn for a bit, but I ended up splurging a little bit yesterday. So I got my hair done, and the salon I go to happens to be right next to the Woolery, the Yarnery, which is on Cathedral Hill in St. Paul. Such a cute area, and I love that yarn shop. That was my local yarn shop when I lived in Minneapolis, and so I don't really get there quite as often, except for when I get my hair done, which can be dangerous. I went in with no intentions. I was just going to browse around, but I justified it a little bit. So next weekend is the Shepherd's Harvest Sheep and Wool Festival. It's like Minnesota's biggest yarn and fiber festival. And I missed it last year, and I'm like, I'm not gonna miss it this year. Well, I guess I'm gonna be out of town next weekend, and I'm really sad I'm going to miss it. So I ended up buying some yarn at the Yarnery because I'm like, well, I'll be saving money by not spending anything from that festival. So I walked into the shop and I was immediately drawn to this yarn. I've never seen it before, or even heard of the brand before. So it's new to me. It's called DanDoh. So here it is. I'm going to show it to you closer because this is just way too pretty to see from too far away. Hopefully you could see that okay. It is pretty dark out today, so I have to use my artificial light. But yes, so this is, like I said, DanDoh. It's made in Japan, and they had so many beautiful colorways, and I had the hardest time choosing what I wanted. I was between this and this like tonal olivey green and kind of that petroleum blue, but again, I was like, you know what? I probably could use another like neutral color garment. And since the knitting for olive one I have is a little bit more of a darker taupe, I thought this more natural color would be nice to make another garment in. I'm not much of a gray person. I don't think gray really looks good on me. I need slightly warmer tones. But this, because it has little tweedy bits in it, kind of gave me almost a gray vibe without being gray. That probably doesn't make any sense. But anyways, this color is called Angora, and it's color number 1. This is 76% silk and 24% cotton, so I think it'll make a lovely summer garment. They had 2 bases at the yarnery. One was obviously this silk one, and then they had a linen one that I think was just 100% linen. But I'm really like digging the silk lately. I don't know, I'm drawn to silk lately. I haven't knit with silk at all yet. Obviously I have 3 garments I'm about to knit with silk, but it just feels right for this summer. And just like touching it, it has a cooling effect. Like, yes, it's a little more rough, but I think that's gonna kind of help. I don't want anything too soft or like fibrous. I feel like that's gonna make me too hot in the summer. So this is gonna be really nice. I think I already know what I'm going to make with it, but by the time I finish those other 2 tank tops, there could be a lot of patterns that come out and my mind will change. But currently, again, another acquisition, I picked up the latest Lina. I think the release date was yesterday in shop, and I just happened to be able to grab a copy, and I was looking through it while I was waiting for my hair appointment, and I want to make, let's see here, the Seashells tank top by Marie Regnier, and this is what it looked like. I remember seeing this on, I think it was Lina's Instagram, and I fell in love with it. I really like the scalloped edging on it. I think that's really cool, and the unique rib texture too. That's definitely not like a normal rib. I have no idea what that is, but I thought that would be pretty with this yarn. So we'll see. This is a really fun period of knits. I also really like the cover sweater here. I wouldn't use those colors because they're definitely not my normal colors, but honestly I want to make this because it just looks fun to make. Like, I think this would definitely be a process knit for sure. And I would like the finished piece too, but that's probably not going to be for a while. I clearly have enough to work on in the near future. to keep me busy for a while, but this would be on the list for sure because it looks really fun to make. So that leads us to the winner of the Best Friends Make-Along, and there's going to be 2 winners. So I'll just refresh you on the prizes. So prize number 1 is this project bag that I made out of this corduroy fabric, and this is the zero waste bag pattern by Baguettes, and inside of it is 2 skeins of yarn. This first one is La Bien-Aimée sock yarn in the colorway Arcadie. I really want to go back and buy this same color. It's so beautiful. And then I found a second skein that could potentially be paired with it. Obviously, you can do what you want with your yarn, but it's Life in the Long Grass, also the same base as I'm knitting those socks, in the colorway Clove. So I thought those looked nice together, and they match the bag. And then a pair of my favorite sock knitting needles in size US1, the Chaogu Red Lace, and a couple of stitch markers that I made myself from rocks that I picked up along the Lake Superior shores. You probably can't see that, but that's fine. The winner will get to see it in person. And then 2 of some of my favorite teas that are made here locally, as well as a little mesh tea bottle in case you don't have a loose leaf tea diffuser thing. And then the second prize is going to be a bag made by Juanita from Woolly Bean. She was my co-host for this make-along, and she thought it would be cool for the winner to be able to pick out their own fabric. So that's why we don't have the bag made yet. So the winner gets to choose what fabric they want and have it like very personalized to be whatever style is calling to them. Juanita makes so many beautiful project bags that she usually has available online. It is a real treat to be able to have a bag made by her. So without further ado, let's choose the winners. I went and found the ugliest name picker spinning wheel I could find on the internet. And I typed in everyone's names or their handles. So we were running this on both Instagram and Ravelry, and I put everyone's names into the spinner wheel, and I made sure that there weren't no duplicates or anything like that. So when I ran the wheel for prize number 1, it landed on Man Knitwear. Man Knitwear also happens to be a lovely knitting podcast that I subscribe to, so I was really excited when it chose her, and you should go check it out too. She makes really cool projects, and she has a lot of good ideas for different types of things for you to knit as well. So that's what you get is prize number 1. Super exciting. And then prize number 2 is Sage Knits Things, who I also happen to follow on Instagram, and she has one of the most beautiful Instagram feeds that I've ever seen. You really should check it out. Everything is very curated. All of the colors go so well together, and the projects she makes are absolutely beautiful. So you are the winner of prize number 2. So exciting. So both of you, if you could send me a DM and I could connect you with Juanita, and then I can get your addresses on where to ship these prizes to, that would be awesome. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who participated. This was so much fun. It was my first time ever hosting a make-along, and in my head I thought maybe like 5 people would do it, but There were 41 people that participated that I put into the spinning wheel, and I thought that was just so cool. And I got to have great conversations about vests and get inspired for future vests that I want to make. And yeah, I don't know, it was super cool, and I think I'll definitely do another make along in the future as well. But yeah, that's all I have for today. I need to go off to Target to get some things, and I really need to clean the house because I've been kind of neglecting it. I hope you enjoyed your time catching up to what I'm making here. If you like what you see, please hit the thumbs up, and if you're new here, welcome. Consider subscribing and you won't miss out on any content in the future. Other than that, I hope you all have a good rest of your week, and we'll chat next time. Bye!